Welcome to the challenge. It's day one. This is where the work begins. And day one is all about needs. So in the first video, I explained how the nice guy, one of the ways the nice guy gets it wrong, or the challenge is that he's depleted. And the reason he's depleted is because he's not meeting his needs. This exercise, 2 exercises, all about needs, will help you to understand exactly where you're meeting and where you're not meeting your needs. Let me explain again why it's so important that we ourselves take responsibility for meeting our needs and we're not waiting for someone else, blaming for someone else. Anything like that is a really bad strategy. As I said on the other video, when we get on the aeroplane, whose oxygen mask do we fit first? Ourselves. And this is exactly the same principle here. Because what happens when we try to put other people ahead of ourselves, it works for a while and then it stops feeling good. We become under-resourced, resentful, angry, and it works out really badly for everyone, not only ourselves, but the people we even think we're putting ahead of ourselves. This is why it's so important that we, particularly as men, are taking responsibility for meeting our needs. And it's true that our partners love us and they want to support us. But if we're relying on them or having a feeling that we need them to help us in some way, that doesn't tend to work so well. So here's the thing, we need to be meeting our needs. And where we're not, the other way it goes wrong is that we start blaming other people. So an example myself, I would say I was in a very long-term relationship where I wasn't meeting my needs, particularly my needs for love and connection, because I was being ignored, abused by my partner and heavily criticised and so on. And what happened is I thought to myself, well, it's okay, I'm not good myself, but I'm just going to focus on other people and try to help them, make sure they're okay, and then everything will work out and they'll help me back and it'll all work. But that's a really bad strategy, because what I got to the point of being was very angry, resentful, bitter, even blaming the people that I love, that I'm trying to support, because I'm feeling bad myself. So this approach has got to start with ourselves. And both exercises, if you click onto the link, are around needs. And they're different ways of really breaking down our needs to see how we're meeting them, how we're doing. The first one is about nutrition. We're looking at different things that we need physically, emotionally, spiritually to sustain us. So obviously the first thing that comes to mind is probably food. We have food which sustains us, but that's not the only thing that sustains us. We need other things as well to really put us in great energy. And this list that you're going to work through is a great way to think about the areas where we may not be getting quite what we need from the world around us, and where we may need to step up, make sure that we're getting that thing that we need. It could be around exercise, could be around natural light, fresh air. And we've got a list together that you just need to work down and see whether you're fully, partially, or not meeting the needs in those areas. The second section is what we call the 7 human needs. It's another way of breaking down needs, but it's not only about our physical needs for sustenance, but also our needs to grow and contribute. It looks really more widely at needs. This is a model developed from work by Tony Robbins. And what we have is 7 areas, which I'm going to run through briefly in a moment. And what you need to do is look for each one to see whether this is a big need for you, or moderate or a low need, because we all have these needs to some extent, but we don't all have them to the same extent. And it's really useful to understand, for me, certainty is really, really important, for example. And then the next bit below that is whether we're meeting the needs at whatever level we need to meet them. And through doing that, we're going to have insights and realize that things are either exactly where we need them to be, or there are some gaps that we need to address, and that's what we're going to come on and talk about. So I'm just going to run through the 7 needs just to give you a bit more background compared to what's in the form. So what you need to understand is this. So the first need is around certainty, and this is our need to feel certain. Really, this relates quite well to the Maslow, the bottom of the pyramid. It's our need for shelter, food, something to drink, a minimum of comfort in our lives, really, just to be able to sustain us, having clothes to wear. It's that feeling that we're okay, that we're safe, the feeling of safety. This is the feeling of certainty. The next is around variety. So because if we only have certainty, we tend to be quite bored. So variety is another need that we all have. And this can be met in so many different ways. It may be through music, sports, maybe through different relationships, but it's our need for that variety, that feeling of mixing things up and experiencing different things. Travel is another really popular one, where people feel they just get stuck in a certain place and they think, I need to see the world, I need to get out, I need to experience different cultures, different things. This is really the need for variety. Then we've got the need for love and connection, human connection. So we all need to feel connected to other human beings. One of the most common forms of torture is to put a person on their own, solitary confinement we call it. And for most people this becomes unbearable quite quickly, actually, that lack of contact with other human beings. So this is love and connection. Then we've also got significance, which is around being validated, being having our contribution recognised by people. Also, we can get this from ourselves, so it's feel significant within ourselves, but it often comes from outside, external significance that we need. Then we've got growth, which is about learning, moving forward. This saying that, you know, if we're not growing, then we're dying. So always wanting to explore, to expand into different areas, different things. And then we've got contribution, which is about giving back, feeling of being able to give our gift to the world. And then finally, we've got spiritual connection, which is our connection to God, the universe, whatever our understanding is of the wider spiritual context. This is all about that connection to that bigger world, that bigger reality. So these are the 7 areas. So for those, as I said, we're looking to say whether it's a big, medium or small need for us, and then to say whether we're meeting that need, and then looking at the gap. And in the gap, there's going to be some insights around things that we need to do a bit differently. You know, maybe, yeah, that's right, I'm feeling a bit bored, a bit stuck now, I need to get a bit more variety in my life. Or it might be, do you know what, I'm not feeling good in my relationship, it's really love and connection that I'm missing, that feeling of lack, that feeling of not being close to another human being, that's what I need. Whatever it is for you, you're going to discover through doing this exercise. So, as I said at the beginning, the key thing is that we're looking to identify and acknowledge the needs that we have, and looking to meet them ourselves, looking to really own our needs rather than externalizing, blaming anyone for the fact that we're not meeting our needs. That's really the look that we're searching for here. So that's it. Today's all about needs. Think about your needs, how are you meeting them, where the gap is, and do the exercises, and I'll see you on the next video.